All right, well, first of all, there were a couple of questions I wanted to address for a minute. Somebody, I think it was Mike, had asked about divergence. It's something I've been working on pretty in depth for a while, and I think I've got a couple of different workarounds for that. One of them is using Donkeyan channels. So if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about that, just email me. I can put in my email address here and send it out to everyone, right? Jeremy?
Yeah. If you, yeah. You put in the chat there.
Let me just do that really quickly. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email. Maybe I'll make up a video. And I did one video on kind of a basic divergence solution in BloodHound, which is already up on YouTube, but it's not nearly as good as what I've just recently created. So, but at any rate, and someone else asked about Barry White's indicator. Barry Taylor. Pretty sure Barry White hasn't made any trading indicators. But yeah, at E-mini watch. So that's something we'll actually be going over next week. What is this? I don't even know why that's showing up there. Okay, so this is something I've created. Kind of just a basic version of it, which is what I'm going to go over next week. So this is actually, Barry created this better volume indicator. And he's got a few different versions, but I'm pretty much partial to his original one, which you can find on Big Mike's. You know, I don't know if it's free or not. He's charging double what he used to charge for his elite membership. So, but if you'll go to Big Mike's and you are an elite member, you can definitely download it. But it's this better volume indicator. So just type in better volume and it'll come up, and you will choose better volume indicator with sound alerts. So that's what this is, and this is something we'll go over in detail next week. But yeah, I'm familiar with Barry's stuff, and I actually like it and use some of it. But so let me just give you a quick shot of what we're going to go over next week. So that's kind of, you have to use a threshold solver to find these different conditions. So you have a breakout, churn volume, climax churn, and we'll go over all this. But you basically have 10 different conditions, and each one of them, like the first one is labeled 1, the next one is 2, 3, 4, and so on. So to get all of the conditions, you need at least 2 solvers. So for the first one, I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm showing when the first few conditions are true in that solver, and then in the next one I show the next few. So yeah, you can definitely, and then I believe on Ninja, on the support forum, there are a couple of different better volume indicators that you can download as well, and I know that one of them is accessible, and I'll go over that next week as well, because I know not everybody has an elite membership to Big Mike's, so that can be an issue for people. But now let's go into this. This is a very simple system, just an opening range breakout. A lot of people were discussing it last week, asking Zach a couple of questions about it. And, excuse me, so Zach and I found this indicator on the NinjaTrader support forum. So let me first show you how to get it, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So go to NinjaTrader, go to the forum. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. If you're not, you just need to sign up, and then sign in, go down to version 7 indicators. Okay, I hope I'm not going too fast for you. And then go down to opening. Okay. And then you'll have 2 indicators come up. All right, and this is the one we want. This is the one we're using today. So opening range, just click on it and it'll download. Okay, so upload that, if you want to do that now, excuse me, if you want to do that now, then you can upload it and kind of follow along. This is really very simple, as I've already said, so it really shouldn't take us too long to get through this. I could add a little layer of complexity if we have time. Maybe I will. I think we've only got about another half hour. So, and if you have any questions while we're going through this, then, please don't hesitate. And I don't want to go, too fast and leave anyone behind. So let me just tell you a little bit about how people use the opening range. So we're looking at crude oil, and crude opens at 9 a.m. Okay, some people, for an opening range, they'll use the first 5-minute bar, the range of the first 5-minute bar. They'll use 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, up to 2 hours. From what I've gathered, for crude oil, a lot of people use 15 minutes or half an hour, because it's so volatile and it moves so quickly. Now, for the E-mini, the ES, the S&P 500, a lot of people like to use an hour, okay, for the initial balance for the opening range. So for crude oil, we're going to use half an hour. So first of all, let me just start with a blank chart here. Let's do that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I've added this toolbar shortcut. You can find that on the support forum as well. Well, let's add BloodHound. So I just open up the indicators panel, click in it, type the S key, and it takes you down to the SI BloodHound, well, all the shark indicators. So let's add BloodHound and also the opening range indicator. Now the opening, he's labeled it with a B, I guess they're his initials, but so it's BZV opening range 4. And add that. I've already got a default set up, but you'll have to go in here and change it to fit the market that you're looking at. So crude oil opens at 9, closes at 2:30 Eastern time, obviously. And we're using the first half hour, so 9 a.m. to 9:30. And then we're going to stop plotting at 2:30. Okay, and then I've made these lines a little bit bigger. I think they come at a 1 width default, and then I've made them white so they kind of pop on the chart here. So let's add that. Now for the breakout, I don't know what is the deal with this. Oh, that's something I wrote earlier. Okay. So for the breakout, there are a number of ways, well, a couple of ways. We could use a comparison solver. We could use a crossover. It depends on how you want, do you want to wait for just the first close below to enter on a breakout of the opening range, or do you want the entire bar to break out? So we'll set it up both ways. If you are, actually that's another thing I'll go over. Let's say you wanted to enter the breakout on the very first tick above the opening range. So you would actually enter here on this bar because it broke out of the range just by a few ticks. But let's say you wanted to enter that first tick that broke through, then you would have to use BloodHound calculate on bar close. Okay, so you would have to, that would take up a lot of resources. It would be recalculating with every tick, but in order to do that, that's what you would have to do. We can kind of go over that, but so let's build the first condition. So we'll start by adding a crossover. I'm just going to name this. We'll use the closing price. So I'll do the close, opening range, high and low. Okay, so for indicator A, you've got the drop-down menu, so you don't have to use the SI chameleon to find the closing price. The closing price is right here. Okay, so let's just choose that, and then add in the opening range, which is under B. as I just mentioned, BZV, opening range. Okay, so you have to go in here and set it up again. Even if you've saved a default setting, for some reason it doesn't access the default templates for your settings. So you'll always have to go in here and set this back up. Okay, so, and then 1430 for the close. Now, okay, if it breaks up out of the high of the range, then we want to go long. If it breaks below the low, we want to go short. I think that's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. Let me just go through some of this stuff. So in this case, we could choose true when it crosses. Okay, if it crosses, so if it's equal to the opening range, if the closing price is equal to the closing range, I'm sorry, if the closing price is equal to the opening range, high or low, then we could set this to true and it would signal a breakout. But let's just keep that false for now. Okay, so I mean, that's as simple as it is. That is pretty much it. Now we could limit that to one trade per direction or even one trade per day. But let's go back to yesterday and see what it looked like. Okay, so now let's do this. Let me set this up. Let me show you how to do it. You know, where the whole entire bar has to break below. We could use a crossover again, but this time let's use the high and the low. Opening range, high or low. Okay, so for that we are going to access the SI, the shark indicator's chameleon indicator, which comes with BloodHound. And this, I use this extensively. It's very cool. You know, you can actually add in another instrument, which I haven't used yet, but you know, I'm sure there are some people that use spreads and whatnot, but I haven't worked with any of that stuff yet. But that's a pretty awesome little feature there, and you can set the look back as many bars back as you want. But for this, we're just going to use the high and the low. So for a short, if it breaks out of the bottom of the range, we want the high to be below that range. So we want the entire bar to break out of the low. So that means we're looking at the high for a short. Okay. Now if it's breaking out of the range to the upside, that means we want the low to be above it. So we want the low for a long. Okay. And then there are all these other options. You can choose the midpoint, the open, the close, the typical, the weighted, and the median. Yeah. Okay, so now once again we'll choose the opening range. It's under B, opening range. And then set this to 9, 930, and 1430. Okay, so obviously the high for a long and the low for a short. But actually, well, I'll do that next. So here you can see this bar broke out, right? But it's an up bar. You know, do you want to enter short on an up bar? Well, that depends on, you know, the other rules for your system. This isn't actually a system that I use. Something I do use is that volume divergence, and we'll be going over that next week like I was saying, but this isn't actually something I use. This is very basic, but I know a lot of people use it, so I'll try to go over it in a bit more detail and show some of the different possibilities you can use. So yeah, you know, do you want to enter on a, you know, short on an up bar? Probably not. So let's add in a bar direction. Okay, and that eliminated that signal, right? All right, somebody's asking a question. Julie, Daniel, show us how to enter at the low of that entry bar for a short. Show us how to enter at the low of that entry bar for a short. Well, the fact is, Miss Julie, you're not going to enter on the low of that bar. You're going to enter when that bar closes. So really, you're going to get filled at the open of the next bar. Now, I could, well, that's not going to help you either. Yeah, you can't really set BloodHound to, and well, I guess that's in the pipeline. I guess I think Jeremy's working on something like that to where you can put in a limit order at a certain place on an indicator or a bar or the previous bar or whatnot. But let's do this. Let's say you did want to enter on the very first tick below the the opening range low. Let me do that. First, let's open up the logic board here because we're going to have to use it in a few minutes anyhow. So we'll do opening range entry. All right, and I'll add the close for right now. So let's do this. I'm going to save this. What is today? 11:08. So yeah, I'll save that. And let me just show you something real quick. So if you want to enter while the bar is actually plotting before it closes, you're going to have to set up BloodHound, calculate on bar close. Okay, so let me just show you that. So I just right-click, go to indicators, select BloodHound. All right, by default, it's always set to calculate on bar close true. So that means it's going to give you the signal at the close of the bar on which all the conditions are true. Okay, and it's going to enter, well no, you can set up the Raven to be calculate on bar close or calculate on bar close true or false. So independent from BloodHound, but for what I'm about to show you, we'll have to select false for that as well for Raven. So let's do that. I've already downloaded some replay data, and this shouldn't take more than about 5 minutes. So I'm going to disconnect. Let me just bring this down. I'm going to disconnect from CQG, connect to the replay data, and then I'll add SI Raven and just run it for a couple of minutes and show you how it enters on calculate on bar close false. And if you have a very complex BloodHound template strategy and you're choosing to calculate on bar close false, it's probably going to slow things down quite a bit. So there are a few different types of systems that you are going to want calculate on bar close false, such as this one, if you want to enter on the very first tick that breaks out of the opening range. So that's something you'll have to figure out, depending on the system that you're using. But okay, any minute now. Wonder why it's taking so long. I guess because I have so many applications open. Haven't seen it take this long. Well, we may not be able to. Okay, there it goes. There it goes. All right, give me just 1 second here. All right, I've connected to the replay, but I don't see, I don't have the replay controls. That is very odd. Well, I guess you'll just have to take my word for it. Oh well. Yeah, well, anyhow, I guess, I mean, you can basically just understand what I'm saying. So let's say you do have it set to calculate on bar close false, and it's running live. The very first tick, you have to open a new chart. I have to open a new chart for the replay function to come up for the, okay. Let me just do that then. I'll set it to 1 day back so it doesn't take very much time. Okay, I opened up a new chart, but still I don't have the replay controls. I think it has something to do with this GoToMeeting because I had to change the size of my monitor for the recording, and I don't know if it's maybe hidden. I don't know. Anyhow, I can't find it, and I don't want to waste any time on it since we have such little time to go through with this. So, at any rate, I won't even worry about connecting back to CQG, but so let's say it is calculate on bar close false. The very first tick that breaks out of this opening range, you'll be entering long, so you won't have to wait for the close of that bar. Okay. So it depends on whether you want that first tick or you want to wait for the close of the bar to be beyond the opening range, or you want to wait for the whole entire bar to be beyond the range. So let me just set it back. Actually, I don't even need to worry about it, so I'll just leave it set up like it is. So now let's do this. Let's add a couple of more conditions here. I'd actually like to show you this because some people do have trouble with this. So let me change this to a range bar. Okay, we'll say a 6 range. So if you're using the bar direction, you only want to enter on an up bar, right, or a down bar. If you're using that bar direction solver, you'll figure out pretty quickly that it doesn't pick up the dojis, right? So when I connect this, you'll see if I can find a doji here. Yeah, right there. So that's an issue. So let's say on the bar that is breaking out, it's actually an up doji, and you've got the bar direction solver on there, and it's not going to pick it up because it's a doji. So what do you do about that? So in that case, I use an indicator comparison. Just open this up a little bit. And then for indicator A, actually I don't have to choose. Yeah, I can just select closing price from the drop-down menu. Okay, and then for indicator B, let me just connect this first and name it. So this is going to be, we'll call it bar direction with the up closing, well, that's kind of a bar direction with up doji, down doji. Okay. So for indicator B, we'll select the SI swing, the SI chameleon. And so for a long, we're going to look at the high, right? So we want to know when this down bar, when this doji, when the close equals the low, all right? Because with the range bar, if you have a doji, that means the close is always going to equal either the low or the high, right? So if it equals the low, then we want to go short. So low bounds, short. Now if it equals the high, we want to go long. Okay. So now the way this is set up is not going to work for us. All right, I should explain the solver. So right now it's set up for the closing price being greater than the high, and that's just impossible, right? So we want it to be equal to, so that means we need the neutral, all right, A minus B. So if we were, well, let me just clear this out and then I'll kind of explain it a little bit better. So if we set that to 1 and then set the shorts to 1, it's going to show us when the low of the bar is equal to, when the closing price is equal to the low of the bar. And with range bars, all down bars, the close is going to be equal to the low. And all up bars, the close is going to be equal to the high. Okay, so that kind of eliminates the need for a bar direction, because if you did use the bar direction, then you would have to invert it to get the doji, and then use an inverter to kind of invert that signal. So this is a really easy workaround for range charts. So if you're using range bars for your breakout system, then this is the solver you need to set up for that. Okay, let's see. I've only got about 5 more minutes. Well, I guess I could take some questions, or maybe I could add in a little layer of complexity. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to ask, does anyone have any questions? I mean, this is very basic what we've done so far. This is, you know, nothing special so far. I will go ahead and show you we do need to add in an AND node to connect these two together. Okay. Add more complexity? Okay. You got it. Thank you so much. This is great. Looking for a breakout for so long. Can you add a Fibonacci extension to that? I wish we could add Fibonacci extensions, you know. I think Jeremy's talked about, you know, wanting to do stuff with Fibonacci before. But right now, as far as automating the fibs, it's just not possible yet. Okay, if we want to break out, I want to buy the retest. So if we break out, you want to buy the retest. Okay, we can do that. Let's see. Okay, so after this breakout, when it comes back and it touches it, do you want to enter? A, and then, okay, Jeff. All right, let's do that for you. Okay, so let's extend this forward. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of tighten this up a little bit. So that's the signal, and we want, you know, after a signal, we want it to pull back, and then when it touches that high, opening range high, then we want to go long. Okay, now if we use calculate on bar close false, then we could have a market order go in the minute that opening range high is touched. Excuse me, and that would be pretty cool. But let's do it, you know, as if you were using calculate on bar close true. So we'll extend this signal forward. So you have all these function nodes, and this is really, this is what they've done, what Jeremy and Zach have done with these function nodes are, it's just really incredible. You can do so much stuff. It's just endless what you can, I mean, anything you can think of pretty much, aside from, you know, certain math calculations. And that's something I'll go over next week as well. Some kind of workarounds to, you know, like some of the volume conditions that I've used in that template I showed you at the beginning. You have to create a couple of very basic indicators to do some of the calculations that I'm going to show you. So for certain things, you need to create some basic, very basic indicators, because BloodHound doesn't really do mathematical calculations. So FYI, can you write your own function nodes? You know, I don't think so. I think Jeremy, do you have a specific function node that you'd like? Like what are you trying to do, Al? Is there something that's not available now that you need? I don't know what I don't know exactly. Okay. Yeah, I don't think so. You could discuss that with Jeremy, and he takes any recommendations that anyone has for making BloodHound better. So if you've got something that you like, then yeah, don't hesitate to write him an email. So okay, we're going to extend this signal forward. Let's say 20 bars. Okay, so within that 20 bars, let's do this. Let's say 15. And first of all, the signal extender, it has all of these different resets. Okay, I just turned them off for right now. But you would most likely want, and we can go over that. Well, I don't know if we'll have time to go over it. I think I have to wrap this up in about 5 or 10 minutes. But you would definitely want to have a reset in there. So let's say that you're extending it forward 20 bars. Well, within those 20 bars, what if it breaks out to the downside after this? You want to have a reset for that. So let's do this. Let's say input opposite signal. Let's turn that reset on. Okay, so we'll have to turn this on as well. Okay, so if within those 20 bars, if it travels down and breaks out the opposite side, then it's going to reset. Okay. So now the next condition is when price comes back and touches the high. So for the high, we're going to use an indicator comparison again. So let's do this. Let's say the high of the bar. Okay, this is going to be kind of tricky. This is good question, because this is going to help a lot of people with something that's kind of tricky. So once again, we use the SI chameleon. Like I said, I use this so much, it's incredible. So we want to show a bar that is touching that opening range high, right? So that's the next condition we want. So we want the low to be below the opening range high, and we want the high to be above it. Okay, so we're going to have a low for the long and a high for the short. Okay, now we're going to do this. Okay, this is going to be kind of, I may have to do, yeah, I think I'll have to do 2 separate solvers, one for each. Well, let me see first. I think I will have to do 2 separate solvers, one for each part of the range, one for the high and one for the low. So let's try to do both of them. So we'll say long for the high, low for the short. Let me just connect that and see. So I'm going to have bar touching range high, low. Okay, let me see. Just do the one for the high for now. Sure. Okay, so what we have to do now, let me see if this is actually, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so yeah, I'll just do the one for the high. Okay, so now then, so what we have to do now is we have to invert this, but we don't really want to invert it, because if we invert it, that means all of this is going to be turning into a short signal. We don't want that. We want to actually swap the signals. Okay, so let's do this. We want to use a long-short modifier. It's another function node, this is a really, really useful function node. And we want to actually, I believe we want to use a product. Or no, actually, you know what? If the high, we want the low That's right. I've got to go in here and set this up first. Okay, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. I'm not used to having to explain what I'm doing. So the way it's set up now, this is a good explanation of this comparison solver too. So look, within the comparison solver, think of it as kind of having its own AND node built into it. Okay, and I hope I don't confuse you too much. This is kind of confusing. Once you get the hang of it, it all just kind of clicks and falls into place. It took me a little while, I don't know, probably a couple of weeks to really understand what was going on inside of this solver. So it's looking at both, the long and the short at the same time. So when you're building a solver, you're thinking, well, I've seen a lot of people do one solver for each condition. So they set up one comparison solver for a long, and then another comparison solver for the short, when you could do both of those, long and short, within the same solver. So that's what's cool about this. So think about down here. So for the long, we're using the low for a long. Okay, so now for indicator B, right, we're using the high, but we're using the high for both the, I'm sorry, this is not right. See, I already forgot to set that up. So that's the thing, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to kind of get to the point where you don't know what's going on because you've made a mistake and you're not sure where that mistake is. So it's kind of good that I did that, because then, you can come back and you'll have to do some debugging, but debugging with BloodHound is so much easier than with code. I mean, you can imagine it's just that one little mistake. So let's fix that. So now, let me see if I can explain this correctly. So we're looking for, for the longs, we're looking for the low. Okay, the way it's set up now, it's going to give us a long signal when that low is greater than the upper range, the upper opening range. Okay, so if the low is greater, we get a long signal. Now for a short, we're looking at the high. Okay, so here, if the high is below the opening range, we're going to get a short signal. So this is all kind of mixed up here. We need the exact opposite. And I'll show you why. It's going to be kind of confusing, but this is a concept that is hugely important in isolating bars that are touching moving averages, pullbacks to anything. So this is really a good concept, and I don't mind going over a few minutes if you guys want to hang around. I don't have anywhere to be, so we can go on for another 15 minutes if you like. So let's do this. So now I've got it set up to where if the low is below the opening range, it's going to give a long, okay? And if it's equal to as well, okay? So that's what this neutral is telling us. If it's equal to or below, it's going to give a long signal, okay? And it's going to give a short when it's above or equal to. Now, what does that tell you? What is that telling you? So when it's totally below it, it's giving you a long signal. When it's totally above it, it's giving you a short signal. So what does that mean? That means when it's touching it, you're getting both a long and a short. This is very important. I want you to understand this. Okay? When it's touching, the way it's set up right now, you use the chameleon, you use the high and the low. Okay? You use the low for long, you use the high for short. Okay? And you want to reverse the default settings. Okay, and then whatever you're isolating, here we're isolating the upper part of the range. So if you're isolating a moving average or whatever, you use long and short for the same plot, okay? And then you kind of set it up backwards, and you also add in the neutral, okay? So it's going to give you both long and short when the bar is touching that area. So now what do we need to do? We need to eliminate the long signal and the short signal. Okay, so how do we do that? That's what I was trying to do previously. Okay, but I was getting ahead of myself. So what does that mean? What do we need to do with that? So you've got all these, in this long short modifier, you have all these different modes, okay? You've got mirror long, mirror short, average, maximum, minimum, product, addition, difference, divide, and then swap is the most common one, which is the way that, that's why they have it set up default like that. Let me just take a drink of water. I'm getting cotton mouth here. Okay, sorry. So think about this. What do we want to do with this signal? To eliminate the long and eliminate the short signal, what would have to be done? If you multiply it by itself, which is what product is, product would be multiplying the long signal by the short signal. What would that do? If you multiply 1, because you have a 1 for the long, times 0, what do you get? You get 0, right? So that would eliminate the long. And if you multiply negative 1 by 0, what do you get? You get 0. So that would eliminate the short. And if you multiply 1 by 1, well, you still get 1. So that's what we want. We want the product. Okay? And that will isolate that bar that's touching that zone. So that's pretty cool, right? So that is so incredibly useful for designing systems. And to write that in code, goodness gracious. So, look at how quickly I did that. You can't do that with code, man. So that's what's so cool about BloodHound. So now let's do this. So, okay, we're above the opening range. So let's do this. Let's do another comparison. And we'll say when the high of the bar is above the opening range, give a long. And then when the low of the bar is below the bottom of the range, give a short. And that'll just be a kind of, just a kind of filter, just a kind of allowance filter, right? Okay, so let's do this. We'll do the chameleon again. So SI chameleon. I told you how much we use this. It's incredible. So if the high is above the opening range high, excuse me, give a long. If the low is below the opening range low, give a short. Okay, so for the opening range, BZ. Here we go. Okay, so high for long, low for short. Almost forgot to set it up again. Okay, 930, 1430. And let me just connect this. I'm not used to teaching, so I just kind of fly through stuff. If you guys need me to slow down or you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because I'm not, I don't really teach, and I'm not exactly a world-class presenter. So, high, low, above, below, range, high, low. Okay. Is that your time zone? Well, I have my computer set up to Eastern Standard Time. I live in New Orleans, so no, I'm actually Central Time. But yeah, this is set up to the exchange time for crude. Okay, so that's, crude opens at 9 in the pit in the NYMEX in New York. So yeah, okay, so yeah, if the high is above, give us a long, and if the low is below, give us a short, right? Perfect. So that's kind of a condition we want for an allowance. So when we connect that, let's say we just connected both of these two, and we want to use an AND node, because if we use an OR node, we would get, both conditions would be signaling at the same time. We want to use an OR node because we want both of them to be true at the same time, so that you only get a signal when both of them are true at the same time. Not when, with an OR node, you get basically just both signals light up you know, but this says both of them have to be true at the same time, so that's why you use an AND node. So that kind of gave us our entry signal here, right? And now we can connect the bar direction with that as well, but let's do this. Let's try to connect this all together into something useful. So it has to be a pullback, right? So we want, you know what? Okay, so we want the initial breakout, and then we want, let's connect all of these together with an AND node. Let's see what that gives us here. So see, that's also going to light up the first bar as well, because that meets all the conditions. But we don't want to take that first bar because you're saying you want it to break out and then pull back. So you want to enter in on that pullback, right? So that means the previous bar or two are going to be coming down to the entry. Okay, so after, you know what I could do? I could actually just do this, which would be very simple. Well, no, I don't think I can. Let me see. No. I love just kind of playing around with stuff and figuring things out. Input opposite signal. Input signal. No, it's not going to work either. Hang on a second. Just to eliminate that first, well, I guess I could use the signal counter. Let's not do all that. Let's just do this. Let's have, okay, hang on. You're something like if the previous 10 bars closed above the high. I will need to watch it a few times to get it all. Keep going. Okay, good. Thank you. Within the previous 10 bars closed above the high. Yeah, we could do that. That's not going to light up this one though. Okay, within 10 bars. That defines the pullback. Okay, but first we need to eliminate that first bar. Let's do this. Let's add in, well, I don't want to add in something that you guys don't have access to. Let's just do a simple moving average. And we will, yeah, whatever. I'll use a 2-period SMA. So let's say, yeah, okay. So let's do this. Let's say that the bar has to be, and this may not be exactly what you want, but this will kind of work. If you want to actually pursue this further, get a hold of me and I can kind of help you out, and we could create something together. I can be kind of creative with this stuff. So let's say you want, I guess we could use a slope. Yeah, let's use a slope. All right, so we'll add in a SMA 2-period, and we'll say that to enter long, okay, it has to be coming back, so we want the slope to be against us, right? So we want to invert that slope. There you go. And that pretty much takes care of it. So we'll say SMA 2-period slope. We'll say inversion, yeah. Okay, so we can basically just connect that. Uh-oh. What's going on here? No, no, it's not working at all. Did I? Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay, we don't need a reset for right now. So let's do that, and then we can connect that in, and then we have the breakout. This is the signal, the original signal, the breakout, and it's extended 20 bars forward. And then on the pullback with the SMA2 against us, because we have to pull back, right? Then that is going to be the condition for the entry bar. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. We could do it probably half a dozen different ways. This seems to be pretty efficient. You know, the fewer solvers, the better, really. The simpler, you know, what did Einstein say? As simple as possible, but not simpler. So that's really what you're looking for, kind of elegance with simplicity. But I'm not going to say this is elegant, but, you know, whatever. It does the trick. So let's kind of go back in time and see what we've got going on. Well, that's a pullback. Okay, let me add in the bar direction. I forgot to add that back in. Or did I? Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I need to explain that now. Let me make sure the first signal is working. Yeah, okay. Occam's razor, the simple of the two is better. Right, exactly. So, all right, so what I had to do was come back and add in the bar direction solver that we created. Well, it's specific for range bars, right? Because it's going to give you an up signal for dojis that close on the high and a down signal for dojis that close on the low. And, you know, just like Al said, I think it was Al, you may need to come back and watch. Oh, no, that was Steven. Okay. Yeah, you may need to come back and watch this a couple of times because I don't think I'm doing a very good job of explaining in detail for someone that is brand new to BloodHound. I'm probably going way too fast and getting a little bit too in-depth, taking it a little bit too far, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, definitely we've recorded this and you can come back and watch it. And I'll save this template and Zach, he'll upload it, or you can get a hold of him or email me and I'll send it to you. But you know, first you're going to have to download that indicator from the NinjaTrader forum. So what else? I think I better wrap it up, you guys. It's 10 to 1 here. What else could I do? Yeah, if you have any questions, please post them in and I'll try to answer them over the next 5 minutes. Do you have a website, and what are your rates for personal tutoring? New to BloodHound and have some trades I would like to automate. Yeah, I'm in the process of building a website now, and that's kind of what I'm going to go over next Friday. So I'll kind of do a better introduction of who I am, the services I'll be offering, and show the website. And yeah, so I will do personal tutoring if that's something you need or want. I'm not going to charge very much. I know a lot of people in this industry, the prices that they charge for stuff is just, it's disgusting to me. It really just, it upsets me, to be honest with you. That's why I love Zach and Jeremy. I mean, this is this software that you guys have, BloodHound, it's worth at least a couple of $1,000. And the fact that they're selling it for $500 makes me just love them, you know, all the more. So yeah, next Friday, so a week from today. But yeah, you know, this isn't very advanced, but it's very basic. I mean, you want to see something advanced, let's get so many thousands of templates here. This is advanced, if it'll even show up. Yeah, that's advanced. But this is ridiculously advanced. It's on the verge of stupidity, really. So I'm not impressed by it. It may look impressive, but it's really not, and it doesn't make money, so whatever. But anyhow, is that even maintainable? Probably not. Probably not, Al. I mean, I know what's going on in there, but a lot of the stuff needs to be taken. This was basically a template where I was doing a lot of experimenting, and I figured out so much stuff working with this template. And it took me to just another level in BloodHound. it takes a while to get to the point to where you are thinking in the language that the computer can understand, to think in a way of, all these micro detailed steps that the computer needs to perform something so simple. Our brains are so much more complex, and we just kind of look at something and we get all these different, details, and we align them and we can make a decision. But a computer needs everything broken down in such micro detail that it takes a while to start thinking in that manner. So once you get to that point, something clicks and it starts to, you can get pretty advanced pretty quickly after that point. All I can recommend is dedicate a half hour a day to, watching some of the training videos, just experimenting, anything. And I'll also offer one-on-one help and training, and I might even do some type of training course, kind of walk people through how I learned it and the steps that I took to get to the point that I'm at now. But that'll all be down the road. So anyhow, I guess I should really wrap this up, guys. Have you seen any auto trading systems that do make money? No, I have not. Well, that's not true. Yeah, but not like when I got into this. Let's see, I bought it April 1st, actually, April Fool's Day. But I was thinking that what I was working on was so incredibly advanced and was, revolutionary and going to make all kinds of money, right? Because I had done simple back tests by hand, but once I got it all programmed and tested it, it wasn't nearly as good as I thought it was. And see, that's another problem with these Renko bars. That's why a lot of people love them, a lot of people that are selling stuff, because you get these totally inaccurate back tests because you're getting filled on the open of the next bar. So if that open is not the true open, and with these Renko bars, it's not, for a 4-1, it's offset 3 ticks. So you've got to deduct at least 4 ticks aside in slippage. So you can get, with a mediocre system strategy, you can get really awesome backtest results using those Renko hybrid bars. So, I did that at first and didn't understand the bars and the open of the next bar being offset and whatever. So I was thinking, oh my God, I've got this 80% winning strategy, $45,000 a month on one contract. I'm going to be rich. And then I started, really digging in to learning automation and building strategies, and realized pretty quickly, nope, it's not the case. And I don't want to discourage anybody, because actually it is very possible to create automated strategies that are profitable. I have seen a couple, but they're not wildly profitable. They're not going to make 100% a month. I think one of them averages about maybe 30% a year. But, you get that running year after year, you're doing pretty good, right? So, yeah, it's possible. But how do I say this? When you get to a level of complexity, it's that 80-20 rule, you start adding more and more filters, you get more and more complex, and you get to a point where everything that you're doing is only hurting the strategy. So, 80% of the base that you started with is going to be making all the money. When you start adding in all sorts of stuff here, and I don't think that even made sense, but when you start adding in tons of stuff, it's going to end up hurting you. And a lot of these trend filters that people, a lot of people use higher time frame stuff. Well, I do too. But a lot of the typical higher time frame trend filters are really filtering out just as many winning trades as they are bad trades. So it takes a lot of experimentation, it takes a lot of patience, and but just like on big mics, you can see the simpler systems are usually the most profitable. So yeah, I don't know. I'm working on several now that are very, very promising, but I've still got a lot of work to do, and ultimately forward testing is the key. So, all right, guys, I guess if nobody has any more questions, I am going to wrap it up.